Hi, this is Michael Buffer, and welcome to the BoxHard podcast.
Hello, everyone. This is Mikey Garcia.
Yo, it's your boy, the odd guy himself, Malik King Scott.
Hi, I'm Charlie Edwards.
This is Fast Eddie Chambers, and you're listening to the BoxHard podcast with my main man, Joey Coastman.
Hello everybody and welcome to episode 89 of the BoxHard podcast. I'm your host Joey Coastman. Ayaz Sumra is with me this week. Ayaz, how you doing?
I'm good, Joey. How are you?
Very good, my friend. Very good. This week we're without B-Rock. She's not with us this week, but nonetheless the show still goes on. We're going to dive straight into part one. Part one, of course, being the review part. We're going to try to go through these cards as quick as possible. There's a lot of different venues to visit this week. We're going to start with a card that happened last Friday, the second card of the Next Gen brand. It was obviously over in the Walker Activity Dome, Newcastle, Tyneham Ware, United Kingdom. We're going to start with the undercard. Warren Baster was on that. He moved to 7-0 with a TKO in round 2 against Imantas Davidatis. That's the guy who fought Isaac Chamberlain in Isaac Chamberlain's last fight. He's a cruiserweight, but he's about 6'8" or something. He's quite incredible, to be honest. He picked up a TKO in round 2, so a good win there for Warren Baster. Also on that bill, Stuart Hall picked up his 21st career win. His record now 21-5 with 2 draws, a points win over 6 rounds against Jose Aguilar, who had a record of 16-35. Not quite sure why he was in there with a guy like that, to be honest. Bradley Saunders also was on the bill. He picked up a TKO in round 1. His opponent's corner threw in the towel in the first round. His opponent had a record of 4-28. Real mismatch there. Bradley Saunders now 13-1. Jordan King was on the bill. He picked up a points win over 4 rounds against Adam Jones, that really tough and rugged journeyman that's never been stopped. So a good win there for Jordan King. Anthony Fowler moved to 2-0 with a TKO in round 4 against Nicholas Gayava. Gayava was down twice in round 3 and once in round 4. We will be speaking to Anthony Fowler very shortly. Also, top of the bill, Josh Kelly. He moved to 3-0. Yet again, he fights a guy with a winning record. Yet again, he looks absolutely fantastic. Probably the best he's looked. Some people kind of bashing around saying that, he's fighting these guys with winning records, but they're really terrible. The thing is, it may be the case. I haven't really looked at these guys' records. I know they've all been winning records, but it is definitely more refreshing to see it than see a guy in there with 95 odd losses. So, good win there for Josh Kelly. He looked really good. He was fighting with his hands down, really flashy style, very impressive, man. I really like to watch Josh Kelly. He really excites me. He's a real Olympian to watch out for in the future. So he now moves to 3-0 with a KO in round 1. He ended up stopping Tom Whitfield with, I think I counted 8 left hooks completely simultaneously. So one after the other. Boom, 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 boom. Good night. So really good win there, really good stoppage there for Josh Kelly. And I actually almost forgot, also on that bill, making her debut, Natasha Jonas. She picked up a TKO in round 1, so very short debut for her. She picked up a win against Monica Antonic, who had a losing record of 1-3, now 1-4. But nonetheless, a good start for Natasha Jonas, also linked up with Joe Gallagher for training. So interesting link up there. Moving over now to the Dominican Republic at the Hotel Jaragua. One fight to mention over here, Javier Fortuna took on Mario Bautre. Mario Bautre 16-2. It was a late replacement. I think he was supposed to take on somebody else. I can't really remember who it was now. But Mario Bautre got KO'd in round 2. So Javier Fortuna now 32-1 with 1 draw. There was also a person on that card called Donny Garcia. Not Danny Garcia, but Donny Garcia. I like it. Right, moving over now to the La Salamandra in Pont Saint. Oh, I'm not going to try. Over in France, basically, one fight to mention on this bill. Ivan Mendy, the guy that beat Luke Campbell, the only man to beat Luke Campbell, he defended his... In fact, it wasn't even a defence. I'm not sure what happened. He took the WBC silver title away from Luke Campbell, and he was fighting for the vacant title here, so I'm not quite sure what's gone on there. But he picked up the vacant WBC silver lightweight title against Javier Jose Clavero, who had a record of 21-2. So Ivan Mendy now 38-4 with one draw. Moving over now to the National Stadium in Dublin, Ireland. Another country, another place, another venue. Steve Collins Jr. lost for the first time in his career a points loss over 10 rounds to Paddy McDonagh, who has a record of 10-2, now 11-2. It was for the vacant Irish light heavyweight title. So a big blemish there for Steve Collins Jr. It's come a little bit early in his career. Very unfortunate that. I really feel for him. Also on the bill, Luke Keeler took on Darren Cruz. It was a points win for Luke Keeler over 10 rounds. 12-2 going in, and he's now 13-2. Darren Cruz 7-6 now, his record. That one was for the vacant Irish middleweight title, the new Irish middleweight champion Luke Keeler. Moving over now to Poland, a really good bill over in Poland actually at the Ergo Arena. Matthias Mastinek topped the bill 38-4. He took on Ismail Salak, former victim of Sergei Kovalev, who had a record of 25-3. It was a points win across 10 rounds for Mastinek, so he's now 39-4. Ismail Salak 25-4. Again, he's only been stopped the once, and that was by Kovalev. So again, he couldn't be stopped there. Very tough guy, Salak. Very underrated, actually. Also on the bill, Thomas Adamek. He picked up his 51st career win. He took on Solomon Hamuno. Hamuno took on Joseph Parker a few months back now. His record 24-3 with 2 draws going in, now 24-4 with 2 draws. Adamek picked up a points win across 10 rounds there at heavyweight. Krzysztof Glowacki was also on the bill. He picked up a win. His opponent retired on his stall at the end of round 5. Didn't want to come out for round 6. Glowacki now 27-1. Good win there. Former world champion, former WBO cruiserweight world champion. Really good fighter, Glowacki, as well. He's going to be in that cruiserweight tournament coming up. Also, Maciej Sulecki moved to 25-0, really promising 154 fighter. He got a win over Damian Ezekiel Benelli, who had a record of 24-1. I didn't really know too much about him, but he's now 24-2. Sulecki, 3rd round TKO win for him. Adam Bowski was also on the bill. He moved to double figures, 10-0, with a KO against Lucas Janik, who had a record of 28-3. So a really good win there for Adam Bowski. Moving over now to the UK. A couple fights to mention over in Manchester. Top of the bill, Jimmy Kelly moved to 22 wins. It was supposed to be for the East and West, I think, something like that. The IBF East and West European title, something like that, but the opponent pulled out. I'm not quite sure as to why, but he ended up taking on Kevin McCauley at short notice. That was terrible, to be honest, because it was supposed to be quite a good fight. It was by far the most attractive looking fight on paper going in, but it ended up not happening. He ended up taking on Kevin McCauley, who had a record of 13 wins and 145 losses, 11 draws. Nonetheless, Jimmy Kelly scraped out a points win across 6 rounds. Under impressive there for me. Also on the bill, Con Sheehan moved to 6-0 with a points win across 6 rounds against Thomas Mazurek. Thomas Mazurek, he's a guy that I think has fought Eddie Chambers, he's fought Hughie Fury, I think he fought Tyson Fury. The whole Fury camp have all had a go with him. And I'm not sure if he's managed to have been stopped by any of them, actually. I think maybe Eddie Chambers might have stopped him. I don't think Tyson did. I'm not too sure if Hughie did. But nonetheless, Con Sheehan gets in some rounds there. Sheehan was also cut on the left eyebrow in round 2, so that's not good. It was an accidental head clash just to throw in there. Also making his debut on that card, former UFC fighter, if I'm not mistaken, Tom Aspinall. He's also a product of the Fury gym. He picked up a KO in round 1. His opponent was down 3 times in that first round, so really quick start there for Tom Aspinall. All the very best to the whole Fury camp, and of course Jimmy Kelly as well. Moving over now to the Holt Suite in Villa Park, Birmingham. A couple fights to mention on this bill. Kelsey Ball moved to 6-0 with a points win across 4 rounds against Kieran Gray. Decent win there for Kelsey Ball. On top of the bill over there, Craig Cunningham, the man that beat Anthony Ogogo, and possibly he could have even retired Anthony Ogogo. We're not quite sure of his future. Craig Cunningham moved to 19 wins. He's got one loss as well. It was a points win over William Warburton, the very crafty journeyman. So that was a points win across 6 rounds there for Craig Cunningham. Moving over now to the US, one fight to mention at the Celebrity Theatre in Phoenix, Arizona. BJ Flores at heavyweight. He picked up a win over Nick Guivas. Nick Guivas 13-6 with 2 draws, now 13-7. BJ Flores went the distance. It was only a 6-rounder, but he won the bout pretty easy from what I've heard. A unanimous decision over 6 rounds. His record now 34-3 with 1 draw. He's making a lot of noise, BJ Flores. I think he wants the Lucas Brown fight. I don't really think he's got enough power, to be honest, at heavyweight. I don't really think he's suited to that weight at all in terms of stature or anything like that. So all the very best to him anyway. Seems like a decent guy. Moving over now to the Agua Caliente Casino in California, USA. One fight to mention over here. Very promising prospect Devin Haney. He moved to 16-0 with a TKO in round 5. It was scheduled for 8. Didn't need the 8. His man Angel Aspuro 8-5 going in now 8-6 with 2 draws. Good win there for Devin Haney. One fight to mention over in the Freedom Hall in Louisville, Kentucky, the great place where Muhammad Ali was born and raised, USA. Derek Rossi actually got upset on this bill. Derek Rossi 31-12, now 31-13. As many wins backwards as he's got losses there. Carlos Negron was in the other corner. He picked up the win. It was a TKO in round 4, but Rossi was down in round 2 as well as 4. Carlos Negron now moves to 20-1 and also picked up the WBC Continental Americas heavyweight title, which was vacant at the start of the fight. Moving over now to the 2300 arena in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Former world champion Kermit Cintron got in there against Tyrone Brunson. Tyrone Brunson a bit limited, but he can certainly bang. Brunson was actually down twice in round 4, but Cintron was down, I think it was 2 times or possibly even 3 times in round 5, and that was all she wrote. So Tyrone Brunson gets another knockout win, and this time a real big name on his resume. Tyrone Brunson now 25-6 with 2 draws. Kermit Cintron 39-5, still looking for win number 40. He's got 3 draws on his record as well. Moving over now to the Philippines, couple last fights to mention from last weekend that happened on the Sunday. Former flyweight IBF world champion John Real Casimiro, the guy that stopped Charlie Edwards when he stepped up very early in his career. Casimiro 23-3. He's moved up to super flyweight now. He actually relinquished his belt. He got a points win over 6 rounds against Jeka Buhawi, a man that I really don't know anything about, but his record was 16-13, now 16-14 with 1 draw. John Real Casimiro, a really good fighter, by the way. It seems like a lot of points wins last weekend, not many knockouts, hopefully a little bit different this coming weekend. And also the final bill to mention from last weekend at the Ford Community Center in Dearborn, Michigan, USA. Top of the bill, former world champion K9 Cornelius Bundridge. He picked up win number 36. He's also got 6 losses on the resume. It was a points win again, a 6-round unanimous decision against Juan Carlos Rojas, who had a losing record 8-20. And we've really tried to fly through that as quick as possible. That is the reviewing done. It's now time to welcome a man that was part of last weekend's action. It's guest number 1. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the former amateur Commonwealth Games gold medalist and unbeaten professional, Mr. Anthony Fowler. Anthony, welcome to the show.
Hello, mate. Nice to be here. You okay?
Yes, my friend. Very good. Yourself?
Spot on, mate. Spot on. Very good.
Nice to hear, my friend. Nice to hear. So, Anthony, you've had 2 fights now as a pro. You made your debut on Kell Brook's undercard last month. I just want to touch on the both fights just to start with. The first one, what did you make of it? Finally turning pro after a relatively long wait and then making your debut on a stadium show up in Sheffield.
Yeah, it was an unbelievable start, mate. Like, I couldn't believe the reception I got. When I walked out to fight, I was not... Like, obviously, I'm big on, like, visualising me fights and me ring walk and stuff, and when I walked out, I couldn't believe the response. People were just screaming, going mad for me, so it probably gave me a big, massive lift, and I felt so pumped up, but looking back, I think I was a bit too pumped up, and it showed me my performance.
Yeah, perhaps a tiny little bit over eager, if you don't mind me saying.
Just a little bit, mate. I was written at him.
Yeah, we see that a lot with guys turning over, especially Olympians. It's it's, of course they want to excite straight away. But what I will say, Anthony, you acknowledged straight away the mistake that you did make with the punch, and I think that was very honest of you. Actually, most boxers would have tried to justify it or tried to pretend it didn't even happen. So I think it showed some good honesty from yourself there. So congratulations on that. Now your second fight, Anthony, was on the weekend just gone against Nicholas Gayava. You had him down 3 times in that fight and also banked 3 and a bit rounds there as well. What did you make of that one, my friend?
Yeah, I thought it was a great fight for him. It was a big step up. The opponent went bad. He had a winning record. He knocked out 7 opponents out of his 9 wins. So for my second fight, mate, it was a tough test. Like, most prospects box a lot of journeymen and stuff, and I wouldn't really call him a journeyman, but he had a winning record. He had a high KO ratio and he comes to the fight. So I was glad because he was tough, and like I said, he went down 3 times, and every time he was trying to get up. So that's what I want, mate. I don't want these kids to just fall over and go down and don't want to get up. So just want to get paid and go home. I don't like that. I want people who want to come to the fight and try and win, because the more they try and win, the more I can show what I'm about.
Yeah, we all certainly want that. Now, let's take a little step back from the bright lights for a moment. Let's focus on the gym. You decided to link up with Dave Caldwell. Dave is a man that we've had on this show, if I'm not mistaken, more times than we've had any other trainer on. He's probably been on about 4 or 5 times, but every time he comes on, he's on for he's on for quite a while. He likes to chat, Dave. A very underrated trainer, in my opinion, and his recent results speak for themselves. How are you finding working with Dave, Anthony?
Yeah, it's brilliant, mate. Like, me and Dave, we've straight away got a good connection now, where I understand what he wants from me, and he knows that I'm trying my best to do it. He's trying to change a lot about me, a lot of stuff, and he's adding a lot of new things to my game. Like my body shots, for example. Like everyone was saying, like, what a great body puncher I was in my last fight, but previously I've never been known for body punching. I've always like knocked my opponents out with headshots. So that's the first time that I've stopped someone with a body shot since I was like 16. So that just shows that what they've shown me is work in the ring, and I think over the 12-round format, my body shots are going to be key, because I am standing with them in nice and swift.
Yeah, no, it does look, from the outside looking in, it does really look like you've gelled kind of straight away with Dave, which is very good to see. That's obviously very important. It's to have that relationship with a trainer-fighter kind of thing. Also, obviously, your first fight was a 4-rounder. This one was a 6-rounder. How quickly do you see yourself moving on to that, perhaps 10-rounders and 12-rounder stage?
I think I'm going to move quite fast, to be honest. Like at the moment, I haven't really been tested at that. My first 2 opponents, the second one was durable, but he couldn't really match me in any department. He swung a few in, but overall, I was clearly outboxing him every single round and got the knockout. But as soon as I get to opponents who can start matching me to get to that level without being big-headed, I want to move up quite fast, and I want to be in fights where I'm getting hit back and I've got to be switched on and move, because I'm big on entertaining the fans. I believe that I have a lot of support, and I'm so grateful for it, but I believe that I should be putting like shows. Every fight I should put a show on for the fans, because it's an event at the end of the day. It's a night out for them. They want to enjoy themselves. You don't want to see me going out blasting a kid over in 1 round. They want to see a competitive fight with they may have to, and I want to show like I've got a big heart and I'm very tough. I don't want to show it as in like taking daft shots, but if I need to, I will dig as far as I need to dig to get the win, just for myself and my supporters.
And obviously, you've been sparring. Everybody knows about your spars with Carl Froch. He's a guy that you look up to in some ways, I suppose. Who have you been sparring lately, Anthony? Was that Carl Froch spar? That was a while back, or was it recently? I didn't think it was recently.
Yeah.
I may be wrong.
No, it was. No, I haven't sparred Froch for a long time. For this last fight, I still sparred the GB lads now and again. Amateurs like Pat McCormick, Ben Whittaker. I sparred Josh Buatsi the other day, and for professionals, I've sparred Liam McKenzie. He was a great spar for me. We've done a great 8 rounds. It was a tough spar, probably the toughest spar I've had as a professional. So I've had a good bit of variety of sparring. I just need to maybe travel a bit more and get the top level sparring in. Like Billy Joe Saunders is in Sheffield now, and Kell Brooks fighting again soon. So there's two people I'd love to spar. I'd love to spar Billy Joe, and I'd love to spar Kell.
And you gave a shout out there to Leon McKenzie, you say?
Yeah, Leon. I was surprised how tough he was, mate. He was very, very tough, and he boxed at a good weight rate, so he pushed me hard. We had a great 8 rounds, me and Leon. I think people would have paid to watch it. It was a great spar for both of us.
Yeah, he's a good friend of the show. I feel sorry for him at the minute because his fight's just been pushed back. But
yeah. I don't see him that, mate. I was good to vote him out.
Yeah. Hopefully,
he's a hard worker, mate.
Yeah. God bless him.
He's a hard worker and he's a grafter, so he deserves the best, mate.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, we all know that you've had an extensive amateur career, way more fights than most fighters have. The bad thing about that in some cases is that you can end up finding it hard to adjust to a pro fighting style. How are you finding that process, Anthony?
I think there's still things I need to work on. Like, I think sometimes I get a bit excited in the like in my fight today. I caught and I got a bit excited and threw too many shots because on my GB days I boxed at a real high intensity. That intensity I boxed at, I couldn't do for 12 rounds. It'd be basically impossible. So I need to be a bit more clever, a bit more cute, and not make as many mistakes. Just be a bit more safety first. Like you look at like Mayweather and people like him, he'd always be a bit more clever rather than take unnecessary risks. And I think a few times I got caught with that shot because I was too over eager trying to hurt him. Whereas next fight I need to take that into consideration and use behind my jab and make them fall short and catch them rather than just rushing in, because on the third round I just like step back a bit and just like jabbed them, leant back and waited for the counters, and the lad couldn't touch me, and eventually I got the opener and put him down, and then once I sensed a bit of blood, he was hurt, I just didn't let him off the hook, because that's what I'm like. Once I get someone hurt me, I just close the ring down and just try and take them out.
Yeah, you certainly did. Now, most people thought you were going to be campaigning at middleweight, if I'm not mistaken, but you're fighting at 154, is that right?
Yeah, but both my fights I've weighed in at 157, and I've made the weight quite easy both times, so the championship fights I'll be 154.
Okay, and any idea when you're next out at all, Anthony?
Yeah, I've been told September, but I'm waiting for the show to get confirmed, but I'm hoping Matthew will have a show in September in Liverpool.
Oh, in Liverpool, yeah, that'd be nice. And how many more fights before the year is up do you think that you'll have, but would you want to have?
Yeah, I think realistically another 3 would be nice. Maybe September, October, maybe November. I'll just do as I'm told, mate. I'll just see how it goes. Just take one step at a time. I've got a little break now, and then I'll have like 10, 12 weeks for the Liverpool fight. After that, I'll just stay busy then. I want to be very busy, and I want to keep building the momentum. And I feel like I've got people getting more and more interested in me every fight I have, so I want to keep building on that and boxing regularly and show what I'm about. I want to be in some good fights.
And if I can get you to set a bit of a goal here, Anthony, I'm sure that you've probably already got a personal goal, but if I ask you, in a realistic world, where do you see yourself in boxing in the next 18 months? So at the back end of 2018, where do you feel that you'll be in your career at that point?
I'd love to be British champion, maybe move on towards European level. That'll be brilliant for me.
Yeah, I think that's...
And it's possible as well, the way I'm moving.
Yeah, I think that's very possible. Very possible. Right,
100%.
3 questions I want to throw at you now, Anthony, and I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit, okay? So try your best to not sit on the fence. You ready for this, yeah?
I'm never on the fence, mate. I just say how it is.
Right. The big middleweight clash, Canelo and Triple G. How do you see that one playing out?
I see it being a close fight. I see Golovkin coming forward. I see Canelo trying to sit in the pocket and use tongue defences to catch him coming in. Maybe a little bit of movement around the ring, but I think it'd be a close fight where people can't split the winner. But I think with the Canelo being a big pay-per-view draw over in America, and obviously the Mexicans all love him, I think Canelo's going to get on points. I think even if Triple G deserves it, Canelo's going to get it because he's the big ticket draw.
We certainly don't need any more controversy with these big fights. Hopefully it doesn't go down that way and we see a clear winner. But yeah, absolutely great fight, one that we're all looking forward to. And now one at the 154 limit, a man that we had on the show a couple of weeks back, Austin Trout. He's Well, I suppose you could say he's better years behind him. He certainly wouldn't admit that, but he takes on Jarrett Hurd, a man that I, got to be honest, haven't really seen too much of him. You may have, you may not have. Have you got any kind of opinion on that fight? If not, then it's fine.
I haven't seen the opponent, but I've seen Trout, and Trout's a quality fighter. I've seen Canelo beat him, but I think Trout beat. I remember Trout beat Cotto, I think, if I'm thinking correctly.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
I think Trout's a good, awkward fighter for most, and I think Trout will win that fight.
Yeah, it's certainly a good fight. Certainly his chance to regain championship status. And finally, this one, I was kind of saving it till last because this one is a serious on-the-spot one, Anthony. This one, I'm going to be smiling while I'm asking this one. Aside from yourself, and I know that all of these guys have got humongous potential, but who do you see as being the standout, the man who could go all the way and stay there for a while out of the rest of the recent Olympians that have just turned over? Obviously, you've got Joe Cordina, Josh Buatsi, Josh Kelly, Lawrence Okoli, and the rest. Who do you see being the standout name, the most special?
I'll probably say Josh Buatsi. At the moment, going from his Olympic performance, he's one of the best boxers of the whole tournament for me. And Josh really stood out in the Olympics. I've done a lot of sparring with Josh, and he's very tough. And being a great spars, he'll tell you. I think his stars on the street of professional is perfect. He's very explosive. He works the body great, and I think Josh is going to go very far. But like you said, we can all go far, mate. Look at Josh Kelly. He's flying. He's got the speed and the skill. Okoli's all with different bang. So we've all got our own little strengths and weaknesses. I mean, like Josh, got things you need to improve on, and so forth. We all have, but I think Josh is going to do great. Yeah.
Yeah, Josh Kelly's a man that certainly excites me a lot. Josh Buatsi, I'm looking forward to his debut. Josh Buatsi, funny enough, he actually grew up on the same estate as me. So me and him have known each other way before the boxing. I actually remember a time when we were kind of play fighting once, and he got me in a. Do you remember the Chris Benoit crippler crossface? Do you remember that? He got me in one of those. Yeah, he got me in one of those wrestling moves. I'm waiting for him to make enough money, then I'm going to try and take him down try and get a lawsuit going about that. All right, Anthony, just before we let you go, my friend. Sorry, go on.
And I was going to say, I think Buati's going to go very far, but we all can, mate. We're all a great gang of fighters, and we're all very determined.
I agree, my friend. I agree. And just before we let you go, Anthony, I just really wanted to give you an opportunity, really, just to send any kind of message to anybody who could be listening, to send any kind of shout out to your training team, your sponsors, anything you want to say before we let you go.
Yeah, I just want to, in general, just thank everyone who's supporting me. I've got a lot of support, like a lot of people that are interested in my career, and they give me a lot of positive feedback all the time. So just thanks to everyone who's been supporting me on social media and at the boxing shows, wishing me well. It really does mean a lot. Like, boxing's a very tough life. I've moved to Rotherham on my own now. I live in Rotherham 5 days a week, which it's very tough down there on my own. And it's like after the training, I go home and I go into an empty little flat. It's hard, but just the support of all people who are behind me, it just gives me that little lift and makes me realise that I've got a purpose what I'm doing, and I'm on a goal, and I'm so focused. So just thanks to everyone who's been supporting me. That means the world.
Well said, my friend. Okay, listen, Anthony, it's been a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you for giving us some time. We'll be following your journey to the top, absolutely, and hopefully we speak again very soon.
Thanks a lot, my mate. Thanks a lot. Speak to you soon.
Okay, now it's time for part 2 on this week's show. This part, of course, the preview part. But before we get into that, I'm going to go over to Ayaz with the latest boxing news. And also, if you're listening for your chance to win a Anthony Yarde signed boxing glove, we will reveal more details at the very end of the show. So listen out for that. But before we start the previewing, I'm going to go over to Ayaz, as I just said, with the latest boxing news from this week.
Gerald Washington is facing Big Baby Miller.
Yes, a really, really good fight. I can't remember the date. It's just slipped my head at the moment. But a really, really, really good fight. Obviously, we've wanted Big Baby Miller to be in there with somebody that has a name, with somebody that we know a little bit about. This is that fight. Gerald Washington coming off that loss to Deontay Wilder, a fight that he was pretty much winning every round until he walked onto one. And I think it was stopped a little bit prematurely, to be honest. But both guys have been on the show. Gerald Washington's a really, really, really cool guy, man. So I wish him all the very best, and also to Big Baby Miller, but a really Intriguing contest, that one, at heavyweight, of course.
Adrian Broner versus Mikey Garcia will be shown live on Sky Sports.
Yes, a fantastic fight for next month. A really, really, really great fight. It's 1 month today till that one kicks off. We had Mikey Garcia on last week's show. I just cannot wait for it. I'm really happy that a UK broadcaster has picked it up. I don't think that it could have escaped both Box Nation and Sky, to be honest. But yeah, I'm pleased that Sky have got it. It's a fantastic card. It really is.
Billy Joe Saunders has left trainer Adam Booth and now has linked up with Dominic Ingle.
Yeah, an interesting one. It's going to be, it's going to be pretty interesting to see how it all really pans out. I mean, we've had Billy Joe Saunders working with the Tibbs, Jimmy Tibbs and Mark Tibbs. We've also seen him partnered up with the MGM crew. He had a few unknown faces in his corner for his last fight, actually. And then he went with Adam Booth, and we haven't actually seen him fight under Adam Booth, which is a bit of a shame, really. It kind of seems like he was just there while he was ticking over, so I don't really think he gave that enough time. But his reasons, if I'm not mistaken, are because it's all a little bit too close to home. Being in London, training in London, he wants to go with a trainer outside of London, so he's decided to go up to Sheffield and link up with Dominic Ingle at the Winkerbank gym. So it could be a really good choice, but it could go horribly wrong. But no, we wish him all the very best. Again, he's a man that we're very big fans of on this show. We'd just like to see him a little bit more active. But no, all the very best to BJS.
Manny Pacquiao versus Jeff Horn will be shown live on Box Nation this Saturday.
Yes, late Saturday, early Sunday hours, of course, Box Nation. I'm happy about this, actually. It wasn't going to be on UK TV, I don't think, until the very last minute they struck a deal with Box Nation, so I'm happy about that. A lot of people bashing Manny Pacquiao for taking this opponent. I'm not really in favour of that. It's a mandatory, like I saw another podcast. I won't mention any names because there's a lot of other podcasts out there that do things their own way, so I'm just going to leave it at that. But I saw another podcast saying that, they were asking questions, should the WBO belt be taken away from Manny Pacquiao if he's not serious about boxing? I don't know how you can say that, because Manny Pacquiao is defending his title against his mandatory. If you look at the other guys in his weight category that have defended their title, Keith Thurman, okay, before the last unification with Danny Garcia, and I give both men credit to that, who had he fought? Okay, he fought Sean Porter, but before that it was a list of who's who, apart from Robert Guerrero, I suppose, who's pretty much way past it now. That's Keith Thurman. Danny Garcia, he hadn't really fought anybody at 147, anybody of true note before taking on Keith Thurman. And also Kell Brook, we all know about his opponent choice before he ran into Errol Spence. But when you look at Manny Pacquiao, he hasn't been inactive. He's been fighting, here and there. He's been defending his title regularly enough. He's been in the game for a long, long time. He took on Tim Bradley, so Tim Bradley, even though people forget about him, the Desert Storm, he is arguably the top 2-3 guys at 147, and a lot of people that have just jumped into boxing in the last couple of years, there's a lot of casuals that have just jumped on board, probably don't even know who Tim Bradley is. So it's a shame, but the real boxing fans know what's what. But I don't really want to see him get bashed for this. I wish him all the very best. Pacquiao's a tremendous fighter, a man that gets my utmost respect. Doesn't matter who he's fighting, to be honest, at this stage of his career. He's an absolute superstar.
Okay, Marco Huck is the latest person to be announced to the in the cruiserweight division for the World Boxing Super Series.
Yeah, Marco Huck really didn't impress me in his last fight. I don't really think he's got too much to offer anymore. It's a name, but that's really it. I think he probably loses to everybody who's been put in the tournament that I've seen so far. I think he's just purely a name. I don't really have anything else really to add to that. I think he loses pretty much against anybody in there, if I'm honest.
Jamie Cox has signed up for the World Boxing Super Series in the super middleweight division.
Yeah, Jamie Cox, he's been crying out for a big fight for a long time. This is going to be a platform that will deliver that. George Grove's in the mix as well, so there's potentially some really, really good fights for him out there. And it's going to be interesting, man, because, you know, he talks a very good game. He fights a good game when he fights properly. When he's a bit angry, perhaps taking some emotion in, we don't see the best of him, but that man can fight. And I think that man gives a lot of top guys problems. So, you know, it's going to be interesting to see how he progresses when he's moved into those types of fights. So, you know, his future's bright. I'm looking forward to see what happens there.
Yep, and finally, Joseph Parker will make his second defense of his WBO world title against Hughie Fury this September at Manchester Arena.
Yes, finally it's on. We didn't quite know what was going on. It was supposed to happen in May. It was supposed to happen in July. It was supposed to happen in New Zealand. You know, there's been many rumours, but it is finalised now for September. I can't remember the date off the top of my head once again, but yeah, it's happening over in the UK now, which I felt all along it wouldn't happen in New Zealand. So it seems like this one is certainly going to be happening. It seems like it's a deal done now. They've announced it officially. Joseph Parker's going to be here next week, if I'm not mistaken, in the UK. I think they're going to probably do a press conference. So yeah, good stuff, man. I'm pleased for Joseph Parker to get a big shot over here, and I'm also pleased for Hughie Fury to finally, you know, get in a real fight. We want to see him tested, just like we were saying the same thing about Anthony Joshua. They were both on the same kind of level, but with Hughie Fury's inactivity, he's kind of slipped a little bit, and Anthony Joshua, rightly so, is now the more talked about, you know, the more talked about guy, you know, the bigger name and all that kind of stuff. The more success is with him. So I think it's going to be interesting to see if Hughie's on that level, but he does fight, because he's been out the ring for, I think it's about 18 months at the moment, but he does actually fight in about, I think it's next weekend on the Copper Box show as well. So he's just going to get in there, hopefully go a few rounds, brush off a few cobwebs before the fight, which I always felt he was going to do anyway, especially when the injury claims came out and the fight got postponed. I just it didn't see it right with me. I'm not saying anything, but yeah, great to see that fight finally back on. Anything else for us, Ayaz?
Oh no, that's it.
Okay, thank you very much, Ayaz. Moving over now to the previewing. We're going to start with a card over in Canada. One fight to mention on this bill. Former Olympian from Colombia, based in Canada, Oscar Rivas, 20-0. He's in a 10-rounder at heavyweight. His opponent yet to be announced. That's at the Scotiabank Convention Centre in Ontario, Canada. Moving over now to the Huntington Center in Toledo, Ohio, USA. A man that we were actually supposed to get on the show this week. Hopefully we get him on in a few weeks' time. Robert Easter Jr. His record 19-0. He takes on Denis Shafikov, 38-2 with one draw. It's for Robert Easter Jr.'s IBF World Lightweight title. Both men last year took on Richard Comey, who we've talked about pretty highly on this show. He's from Ghana. He's a real banger. Both men actually beat him on a split decision that most people would tell you could have gone either way in both fights. So they're both pretty much on the same level if you go by those two fights there, but styles make fights, and this one should be a really good fight. I'm really looking forward to it. Denis Shafikov also last year beat friend of the show and really good friend personally of Robert Easter Jr. in Jamel Herring, so a little bit of revenge for him, I'm sure. But yeah, all the very best to both guys. Hopefully Robert Easter Jr. pulls it out of the bag. Really exciting fighter. Also on that bill, Julian J. Rock Williams gets out again. His first fight back since being knocked out brutally by Jamal Charlo for the IBF world title at 154. He's back at 154. He takes on Joshua Conley, who has a record of 14-1 with one draw. Julian Williams 22-1 with one draw. That's it for Ohio. Moving over now to Argentina. This one happening on Saturday. Those fights before on Friday. One fight to mention over in Argentina at La Parque La Pedrera. Over in Argentina, as I said, in Villa Mercedes, probably saying that bit wrong. Diego de la Hoya, cousin of Oscar de la Hoya, 18-0, puts his WBC Youth World Super Bantamweight title on the line against Alan Castillo, who has a record of 21-6. That's it for Argentina. Moving over now to Belgium. I am pretty confused about this one. Joe De Gecko, 11-2 with one draw. alias, of course, Big Joe. He takes on Michael Sprott, 42 and 27, our very own Michael Sprott. And it's supposed to be an 8-rounder at cruiserweight. Now, Michael Sprott has never fought at cruiserweight. Even when he made his debut, which was the time he weighed in his career lowest, it was about 207, 208 pounds. He needs to drop below the 200-pound limit, and that debut that he made was actually 20 years ago. So for him to drop down, even though in his last few fights he's been weighing about 240, 238 and stuff like that, I just cannot see that happening. I'm not sure if that's a complete error there by BoxRec, but yeah, I think it's going to be funny if it does happen. But yeah, all the very best to both men if it happens at heavyweight or cruiserweight or any kind of catchweight or whatever. But moving over now to the Casino d'Evian in France. One fight to mention over here, really, Brian Carlos Castano, a man that I'm going to be completely honest, I don't know the first thing about him. He puts his interim WBA World Super Welterweight title on the line against Michel Soro, who has a record of 30-1 with 1 draw. That should be a really, really good fight, especially for the French standards of late. Yeah, I don't know too much about Castano. I know that Soro's a pretty decent fighter, so hopefully that's a good fight over there in France. That's it for France. Moving over now to Germany. One fight to mention over here for the vacant EBU European Light Heavyweight title. Dominic Bozel, 24-0, bright prospect, takes on Karo Murat, 30-3 with 1 draw. Murat been in there with the likes of Bernard Hopkins. I remember Bernard Hopkins really made him look silly a few years back. I think he also shared the ring with Nathan Cleverly, if I'm not mistaken. His better days are certainly behind him anyway, but decent fight, one to mention, of course. Moving over now to Moscow, Russia. 2 fights to mention on this bill. Top of the bill, Alexander Povetkin, 31-1, takes on Andrei Rudenko, 31-2. Decent fight in terms of looking at it on paper. Really and truly, Povetkin should absolutely walk through Rudenko, providing he's not on any kind of dodgy substances. It's all been a bit strange with both guys there, so hopefully it's a clean fight, and I really mean that in both terms, to be honest. That one's for the WBO International Heavyweight title. All the very best to both men. Also on that bill, Edward Troyanovsky, 25-1, coming off his loss where he was stopped in the first round against Julius Indongo. He takes on Michele De Rocco, former opponent of Ricky Burns. He's absolutely awful, and he's got one of the most padded records I've ever seen, 41-2 with 1 draw. Troyanovsky should probably stop him, I'd imagine. That's it for Russia. Moving over now to the O2 Arena this Saturday, the Matchroom card over there. Greenwich, London, United Kingdom, of course. Couple fights to mention on this bill. I'm going to start with Jamie Cox. He's on this bill, 22-0. Obviously, we talked about him in the news part of the show. He's out again. His opponent yet to be announced. Apparently, Mike Perez is also on this bill. His record 22-2 with 1 draw. His opponent yet to be announced. The debut of the Olympic bronze medal winner 2016 in Rio, Joshua Buatsi. I shared a little towel actually between myself and him earlier on in the show when we spoke to Mr. Anthony Fowler. He makes his pro debut. His opponent yet to be announced. I'm very excited for his future in the sport, absolutely. Also on the bill, Craig Richards. His opponent yet to be announced as well. Conor Benn takes on Danny Little. Danny Little with a record of 4-31. Conor Benn 6-0. Isaac Chamberlain takes on Ryan Crawford, who has a record of 2-2 with 1 draw. Isaac Chamberlain 7-0. He's in a 6-rounder at cruiserweight. Also, a potential foe of Isaac Chamberlain, also at cruiserweight. 3-0 now with 3 knockouts. Lawrence Okoli, he takes on former foe of Isaac Chamberlain, Mr. Russ Henshaw, 7-5. He's gone into journeyman mode a little bit lately. Lawrence Okoli, this fight was supposed to happen about 5 times. It's finally happening, and I think he's going to win that fight probably by stoppage pretty early. He'll be looking to make a statement as well, but it seems like Russell Henshaw's mindset has changed since losing to Isaac Chamberlain, in all fairness. Yeah, those guys, I remember last time we spoke to Isaac Chamberlain on the show, he kind of said a couple words about Lawrence Okoli. It wasn't really spiteful or anything, to be honest, but Lawrence Okoli went straight on Twitter and started giving him some giving him some abuse. Isaac Chamberlain didn't really respond to it, to be honest. But I haven't really spoke to Isaac since, actually, which is pretty odd. But yeah, that's that. Also on the bill, Jake Ball, 8-1, takes on Pablo Sosa, a man that has a better fighting style than his record may suggest. He's a better fighter than his record may suggest. His record 8-7 with 3 draws. We'll be speaking to Jake Ball very shortly. Also on the bill, Reece Bellotti, 9-0, looks to move to double figures. This one's for the vacant WBC International Silver Featherweight title against Jamie Spate, 15-11. Also on the bill, Matthew Ryan puts his English Super Welterweight title on the line against Ted Cheeseman. Matthew Ryan, 14-1, Ted Cheeseman, 8-0. And top of the bill, friend of the show, a real good guy. I really got a lot of time for him. Mr. Frank Buglioni, the British light heavyweight champion, 19-2 with 1 draw, puts his belt on the line against Ricky Summers, 13-0. Ricky Summers coming into that fight very confident, but Frank Buglioni, for me, I think probably gets the job done there. We know that Frank Buglioni can certainly go to deep waters and swim. Ricky Summers hasn't been tested in that area yet against somebody like Frank Buglioni. All the very best to him. Moving over now to the Doncaster Dome, Doncaster, Yorkshire. One fight to mention on this bill for me. Gavin McDonagh is coming off of that loss for the world title against Ray Vargas. Gavin McDonagh, 16-1 with 2 draws. His opponent yet to be announced. Moving over now to the final bill of the previewing. There was a lot of places to mention. We've been pretty much all over the world in terms of the reviewing and the previewing segment. We're now down to the last card. We're going to start with the undercard. It's at the Suncorp Stadium in Brisbane, Queensland, Australia. On the undercard, the Irish sensation Michael Conlan, in his 3rd professional fight, he takes on a man called Jarrett Owen, who has a record of 5 wins, 4 losses and 3 draws. It's a 6-rounder at featherweight, that one. Michael Conlan getting out there in Australia, which is pretty odd, to be honest, but all the very best to him. I think it's a joint promotion with Top Rank, this one. Also on the bill, the son of Shane Mosley, simply Shane Mosley Jr., 10-1. He takes on David Toussaint, who has a record of 10-0. That's a really good fight, by the way. It's an 8-rounder at middleweight there. Also a Russian, but he's based in Las Vegas, if I'm not mistaken, Umar Salamov, really highly ranked now. He fights for the vacant IBF Australasian, that's Australasian, Australia and Asian light heavyweight title. Ayaz, you could probably have a crack at that one, to be honest. It's also on the line with the WBO International light heavyweight title. He takes on Damian Hooper, who has a record of 12-1. Umar Salamov, I'm going to seriously sit down and give him a bit of attention this weekend. I haven't really seen much of him, but he seems to be a pretty decent fighter from what I've been told. Also on the bill, we should mention it, Jerwin Ancajas puts his IBF World Super Flyweight title on the line. His record 26-1. He takes on Teru Kinoshita, who has a record of 25-1 with 1 draw. I don't really know too much about either guy there. And finally, the final fight to mention, top of the bill, we talked about it briefly earlier. It's on Box Nation this weekend. Manny Pacman Pacquiao, 59 wins, 6 losses and 2 draws, puts his WBO World Welterweight title on the line against Jeff Horn. Jeff Horn 16-0 with 1 draw. Manny Pacquiao gets his chance to pick up win number 60 here. I'm going to go over to you, Ayaz. Firstly, Manny Pacquiao has been bashed, as I've said, for taking this opponent choice. It's a simple thing, really. You know, you've got to fight your mandatory or you get stripped, even if your name is Manny Pacquiao. I can't really fault him for taking this fight. I can't really blame him for taking this fight. It's a fight he needed to have, otherwise he'd be stripped. Do you see all the, all the people giving him some stick for it? Do you see where they're coming from or not?
Yes, I see where they're coming from. Obviously, no one really knows who Jeff Horn is, and to be honest, many thought the fight with Amir Khan was going to happen. However, that broke down with talks, and now he's fighting Jeff Horn. In my opinion, do we really want to see Jeff Horn fight? It's not really a big fight, and to be honest, I'm not even that. I'm usually interested in Manny Pacquiao fights, but I'm not really interested in this fight, to be honest, because we know what's going to happen. Manny Pacquiao's going to beat him. He's doing a world tour, farewell world tour for his fight. I'll tell you a fight. He'll beat Jeff Horn, and then he'll probably go and fight someone like, I reckon he'll fight, in my opinion, I reckon he should fight someone like a Crawford or Lomachenko. But they said he could fight Lomachenko. But I reckon the fight he's going to fight in the future is Crawford. And to be honest, the Horn fight is really not interested in that. Not many people are really not interested because they know Pacquiao's a favourite and he's going to beat him.
Yeah, I mean, I understand what you're saying. He's not really a name, Jeff Horn. It is pretty unusual that Manny Pacquiao is travelling, especially to somewhere like Australia. He's fought pretty much. He's fought all around the world, really. Manny Pacquiao, China, obviously the Philippines, the US mainly. Over here in Australia this time, I think, and I'm going to say it now, Box Nation are making a hell of a lot of noise about Manny Pacquiao possibly fighting Bradley Skeet. If the Australians can bring up this kind of money to make Manny Pacquiao travel, I think that we've got a bit of a chance to see him over in the UK. I mean, it would be absolutely amazing to see him over here. I'd love that, especially against someone like Bradley Skeet. But those fights that you mentioned there, Lomachenko and Crawford, they're guys that really and truly are potentially cash out fights. I don't really think he's ready for that. I think he's probably taking one fight at a time at this point of his career. He's going to probably see how he looks. If he doesn't feel too good, maybe he'll fight one of those guys. If he does feel really good, if he looks great, then perhaps he has a few more fights. Potentially Bradley Skeet next, somebody like that, somebody of a decent name, but somebody where he's going to be the big favourite to win, which he would be against Bradley Skeet, obviously. But yeah, I mean, I'm still going to be watching it. I really like Manny Pacquiao, no matter what. I think he's, a really good person. I'm a huge fan of his. Obviously, we both know, Ayaz, that he's not the fighter he used to be. He seems to be more of a point-scoring fighter now. He hasn't had a knockout for a long, long time. He used to be a bit of a knockout machine back in the day. Does he get the knockout on Saturday night / Sunday morning?
Yes, I reckon he does.
You reckon he finally breaks the deadlock?
I reckon it'll stop him.
Well, we'll have to wait and see. But I tell you what, I don't know too much about Jeff Horn. I've got to be completely honest. But from what I've heard, some people that I would really respect inside the boxing circle, some people say that Jeff Horn's actually a really good fighter, So hopefully it's a competitive fight. That's what I will say. But hopefully Manny Pacquiao gets the job done. Again, I'm a bit of a fanboy when it comes to Pacquiao. A true fantastic fighter, an ATG as they say, an all-time great. But that's really it for the previewing. We've done the review and we've done the news. We did guest number 1. It's now time to welcome guest number 2. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the light heavyweight prospect fighting this Saturday, Mr. Jake Bull. Jake, welcome to the show. It's been a while, my friend.
Yes, it has, Joe. It's been a while, mate. It's been a while.
Yeah, it certainly has. So, Jake, we last spoke to you in April of last year. It was the week after the Colin Farrakher fight. It was the first and last time that you've gone the distance as a pro. It's kind of crazy to think that since we last spoke, you've only boxed 5 rounds, but you've had 4 fights. So, I just want to go back a little bit. We're going to catch up a little bit here. So the first 2 fights since we last spoke, you won by knockout as per usual. It's what you usually do. And then, of course, there was the hiccup. You fought JJ McDonagh on November 26 at Wembley Arena. I was ringside that night. And the thing I remember most is the whole venue being shocked into silence. The whole place was completely silent. You could literally hear a pin drop when you got stopped in that fight. What do you remember from that night to forget in many ways in November last year, Jake?
Just a lot of bad memories that night. I think that was it was one of the nights that we've marked down as a massive learning curve in my career. We've took it down as a bit of a blessing in disguise. You know what I mean? Obviously happening so early on in my career. We've learnt massively from that night, and picked up on a lot of small faults and a lot of silly little things, obviously, that we was doing. Not only in that fight, but obviously getting away with it in the previous fights, obviously, because of the level of opponents. We've been working very hard in the gym, correcting a lot of faults. To come back this March with a great win back, and I'm looking forward to continuing it now this Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. And to be fair, Jake, the last thing I want to add to that night, you certainly know how to finish an opponent once you've got them hurt. We all know that. But sometimes, and I'm going to be honest here, you've been a little bit guilty of rushing in, not really thinking about what's coming back and just thinking about ending the fight early. That is pretty much what happened. Most people forget that you had McDonagh hurt and was unloading a combination when you got countered and never really recovered. It was simply just a shift in momentum.
No, 100%. Yeah, it's one of them things. That's where and I say again, like it isn't just that fight. I've done it in my previous fights, but obviously I was lucky enough to get away with it. But obviously having that step of opponent and just basically giving them a free shot, because obviously I'm obviously trying to unload wild shots myself. Watched the fight back many a times. We've studied it. We've worked hard in the gym, and from Saturday I think you're going to see a very good, cool, calm, collected Jake Paul. Just looking for the win now, because you sort of like, rely on that straight away. I mean, like, now obviously I'm just back to my boxing, basically back to what I'm good at, being a boxer, not getting hit, moving. So I'm really looking forward to Saturday now, honestly. Just put a show on for the people, showing that I'm more than just a 1-2 round last belt, and just being entertaining to watch.
I really just wanted to ask you, Jake, as well, just before going on to what's sort of happened this year. Obviously, you kind of answered it a little bit. I just wanted to really know where that ending of last year, it kind of ended the year on a bit of a low. That can obviously do two things. It can make fighters hit rock bottom, and also, as you kind of alluded to there, it can, you can kind of class it as a blessing in disguise. You can learn from that. It sounds like you have done that, which is obviously the more positive of the two outcomes.
No, definitely. The thing is, like, as you can see from that fight, like, I'm not a quitter. Like boxing is my life. I've done it since a young boy, and like, basically, like I've said, a lot of people come to me, like I said, it isn't how you lose it, it's how you come back. Me and Jimsky and the full team have put that fight to one side as an experience that you can't buy, and a learning curve. We've learned from that fight, so now that will never ever happen again throughout my career, because I've been on the side of winning and I've been on the side of losing, and winning's a hell of a lot better. So that's the plan. Just keep the wins coming.
Hopefully so, yeah. Hopefully so, of course. So, as you spoke about just briefly as well, you returned back to the ring in March and stopped Oleg Fedotovs, who's a guy that has fought loads of good fighters. You stopped him in round 1, even though he went the distance with Rocky Fielding and Andy Lee, and a few other guys took longer to dispatch of him, including Chris Eubank Jr. So that was a really good win, by the way. So now on to the next one. You're fighting this Saturday at the O2 Arena. It's a shame that James DeGale or Dillian White on the bill, but it's still a good card. Firstly, you haven't fought at the O2 since your debut. Are you looking forward to returning back there, Jake?
I'm absolutely buzzing. Like the O2, a great venue to box in. Obviously, back in London, my hometown. Looking forward just to getting back in the ring now and just doing obviously what I love to do.
Yeah, of course. And you're fighting a man named Pablo Sosa. He's got a record of 8-7 with 3 draws. It's not a standout name. It's not really a standout record, but he's actually a lot better than his record suggests. And I'm just going to drop a bit of science now for the listeners. This is a potential banana skin fight, by the way. I'm just going to dissect his record just a moment, if you don't mind, Jake. He's only ever lost to unbeaten fighters. That's one thing. He got a split draw against Edward Gutnech. That's the guy that George Groves put in a coma, unfortunately, after their fight.
That's it. And he also challenged Raymer for the world title.
Yep. And also, he's the one man to, and this took a bit of digging, to be completely honest, he's the one man to have beaten Richard Barangyi. Now, Richard Barangyi is the WBO European champion, the guy that's going to be fighting Anthony Yarde a week after your fight. So yeah, he's 18-1 at the moment, Barangyi, and his one loss is to the guy you're fighting Saturday, and this guy actually knocked him out. So apart from all that, Jake, do you know much about your opponent at all?
No, well, he's I think 5'9", 5'10", orthodox, quite playing on his feet. He hasn't got a great deal of movement, but he's looked for a big backhand. He's strong, short, compact, and just swings over that backhand quite regularly. So a lot of fast sort of movement, hands tight, and like I said, just stick to my boxing. I'm not going in there trying to blast out in the first round. I'm just going to box, and obviously if it comes, but we'll get a good point win.
Yeah, that's the right way to be going in, to be honest. That's the right mindset to carry into a fight like this. I want to ask you as well, Jake, is the McDonagh fight something that you want to avenge down the line, or has it not really bothered you? You're not really bothered about fighting again?
If I can get that fight back for that title again, or some sort of big fight, then 100%, because obviously, of course, you want to rectify a fault in my career, but it's not a sort of fight where I'm going to go in for a 6 or 8 round and just say that I've beaten beat him because he beat me. With him all there, I'm still going to go to bigger and better places. So if what happens, then 100% we get it done. But obviously, all depending on if I first at the way, what paths open up for me. If something else comes along, better titles. You never know. Boxing's a funny game. It changes every day. So we'll see. But the main thing is getting your life first out of the way first.
Yeah, it certainly is a funny game, though. And the last couple of questions now, Jake. The main event on Saturday, Frank Buglioni versus Ricky Summers. Is that a fight that you're going to be looking at closely? I know that you're obviously taking kind of one fight at a time, and you certainly, you're taking it easy at the moment, and so you should. But is that a fight that you've got a keen eye for?
Of course, yeah, definitely. Well, the thing is, I know myself, I obviously good to first away, but I'm not a million miles away from obviously competing or contending for British titles, so I'm definitely going to be keeping my eye out on that fight, obviously, and I think it definitely be, you never know, one of them guys in the next 6 to 12 months will be an opponent for me, so it definitely be a fight that I'll be watching on the night.
Yeah, absolutely. And final question now, it's a huge fight coming up, At middleweight, I'm really asking everybody their opinion on it. It's coming up, obviously, September. Triple G versus Canelo. Have you got an opinion on that one, Jake?
For me, I think it's a good fight. I think it's the right fight at the right time. I think like both the guys are sort of in their prime at the minute. They're both looking absolutely tremendous. For me, I think Triple G's last couple of fights, I think he's been shown before that. I think everyone thought he was like some sort of machine, some sort of robot. Even though he is fantastic, and get away from him. I think Canel's got to have a bit too much movement for him, and also put with the power. To me, the Danny Jacobs fight was a very, very close fight. I think I could have gone either way. I generally think that Canelo's going to edge this one.
Certainly a very close fight, certainly a really exciting fight. And just before we let you go, Jake, if you've got any kind of message to send anybody, you want to shout anybody out, you want to give a thank you to anybody, just take it away.
Yeah, no, well, listen, everyone, just give me a follow on all my social media at @OneJakeBull, and just become a baller. Join the journey, and let's go to the top together.
Well said, my friend. Okay, listen, Jake, it's been a pleasure catching up with you. We wish you the very best of luck for Saturday. Thanks for your time, and we'll speak again very soon.
No worries, Joe, mate. Cheers, mate. Speak to you soon.
Okay, now it's time to conclude episode 89 of the BoxHard podcast. I've been your host, Joey Coastman. Ayaz Sumra has been Ayaz Sumra. Firstly, I'd like to apologise for the audio quality in the Jake Bull interview. I really tried my best to edit the devil out of it, but that is the best I could do. I think he's having phone problems or something. It wasn't on our end, that's all I can say. But regardless of that, a big thank you to our two guests on this week's show, Mr. Anthony Fowler and Jake the Blade Bull. And by the way, the thing to do to win a Anthony Yarde signed glove is simple. Leave us a review on iTunes and make sure that you mention your Twitter name on the review so that we can contact you over the weekend and get the gloves sent out to you as soon as possible. We'll be back next week with another big show. As always, thanks for listening and see you then.